my presentation is not really as much about the nuances in my business as much as it is about how we are partnering with them and becoming a gathering site. That's Farm Hill Sand Hills Farm to Table, excuse me. So I wanted to pass one of these things out if you don't mind, because it's just interesting. So I'm a coffee roaster. I started 3 years ago out of my garage, bought a little coffee roaster, started roasting it right there. My neighbors loved it, so I started selling it to them. Started going out to some of the local businesses, some local restaurants, and providing my coffee to them, some local bakeries. And in January of 2014, I opened up my first location, my first standalone location in Hope Mills, right where the Holiday Inn Express, I don't know if you're familiar with the Hope Mills, near the Walmart in Hope Mills. So part of my goal with Cumberland Coffee Roasters is to offer freshly roasted coffee to the community, because I've lived in the area for about 10 years and I've noticed that there wasn't a coffee roaster in the area. And I love coffee, and I know a lot of you do too. So I wanted to offer that to the community, and didn't really have a lot of resources to do it with, but I had a garage and I had enough money to buy a roaster. So that's how it started. Now, a little bit about coffee. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the urban legend of how coffee came about, but it all started with a goat herder by the name of Kalbi in Ethiopia, who he noticed every time he took his goats around this particular area where all these bushes were at, they would get so energized, and that it would just really surprise him. It's like, what's going on here? Why are they so energized? And he noticed that they would be eating these berries off of a bush. So that's how coffee was discovered. They took the berries, started eating them, and a lot of the natives, and it caught on, and they started eating them for energy and for its nutrients. But that was about 700 years ago that was believed to be found. It started all in Ethiopia. The reason I handed you one of those sheets is it's this concept, farm to table. This is the seed to cup. And a lot of people, I'm surprised, a lot of my customers come in and they don't realize that coffee is a seed, the seed of the coffee tree. And they also don't realize that we don't grow it here locally. We don't grow it in the United States apart from Kona in Hawaii. So, apart from in Hawaii. And the reason is because coffee is really picky about its climate. So it's grown between two tropics, Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, which, if you think about it, the upper limit of that is just south of Florida. So coffee's grown around that belt line. So we get a lot of coffee from Central, South America, the islands, Africa, Indonesia, Asia. There's all the coffees growing around that area, but America is the largest consumer of coffee. Well, one of the largest consumer of coffee in the world. So we usually get the coffee here through our big distributors like Folgers, Maxwell House, things like that. But what I've learned is that a lot of people are demanding fresher, more locally tied products, whether it's fresh baked bread or freshly roasted coffee. So what I do is I bring the coffee or I work with an importer out of South Carolina, and they do a lot of direct trade. So coffee, they go to the farms, they have boots on the ground, they go there and look at their farming practices, look at how they pay their farmers. They go through this whole process, and if you see towards the end is coffee roasting, grinding, and consuming. They take care of a lot of that background in those countries where the coffee's grown, and which allows us, people like myself and other roasters in the area, to not have to worry about every single detail of how the agricultural side of coffee is taken care of, because that is a big project. if you see that, there's a ton of steps before you ever even drink your first cup of coffee. So that makes me think of Sand Hills Farm to Table, because there's a lot that goes behind it that you'll never know. You just get your produce box, you know, you got your sweet potatoes or your kale, and you enjoy it. But there's a lot that goes behind it that you'll never know, and I'm really grateful for organizations such as theirs, that they go out there and they make sure that there's good farming practices. They make sure that the farmer has the resources that they need in order to be able to grow their produce and not have to be stressed out about where am I gonna, who am I gonna sell this to? How am I gonna get this out? So I decided to partner with them because I think that it's a really good blend in what we do. It works really well. We have similar visions. We have a similar audience. And my hope and expectation is that as people get to learn more about them, they'll learn more about me. They'll learn more about how, just if you can get it local, that's the way to go. And hope to be able to grow with them hand in hand with that. We're located once again in Hope Mills. I roast all my coffee there. I'd love to do a presentation actually on the business itself.
What part of Hope Mills are you in?
Are you familiar with Walmart's at? Hope Mills? I'm just down the street from Walmart.
Gillsville or the Hope Mills Main Street?
The Hope Mills Main Street.
Right across from Zorba's.
Oh,
Zorba's, okay, yeah, right across the street from Zorba's. I'm right there in that little shopping center. We're roasting coffee there, and then we have espresso bar and full-fledged coffee shop there, so you can come in and hang out.
And the best cookies in town. Seriously.
But it's I love it. I enjoy it. If you love coffee, definitely come by, try it out. We have some of our Peruvian coffee brewed back there in the 2 air pots. Just actually got those.
I thought that coffee was awful good today.
So that is not the Folgers. That is a coffee from Peru, sourced by our importers. That's a whole other thing.
Now, what made you choose the Hope Mills area?
I lived there. 3 minutes from where I lived. There wasn't at the
Me
time.
too.
At the time, there wasn't a coffee shop. There's 2 now, I think, or 3.
Yeah.
Which all popped up around the same time. But so I wanted to bring it to the Hope Mills area, and I think Hope Mills has just grown by leaps and bounds. It's unbelievable. I've been in Hope Mills for like 5 years. I've been in the area for 10, and just in the last 5 years, it's just like amazing how much growth there's been in there. So I thought it was a good area to kind of sink in my roots. My hope and expectation is to be able to take this out, hopefully open up another coffee shop in the next year or 2 in the area, and be able to bring my coffee around here. So right now I'm working with local restaurants, like I said, and local bakeries and coffee shops to be able to provide them with locally roasted coffee.
Now, where do you collect your beans from all over the world?
Yeah, so that's a Peruvian bean. We have Guatemalan coffee. We have Brazilian, Colombian, Ethiopian, Kenyan coffee. We do blends. So we have a more of a medium roast house blend, and then a dark espresso roast house blend. We do most of our coffees are single origin coffees. Because you can really, I like for people to taste the individual nuances of each different coffee. It's like drinking wine. When I first got into the coffee world, it was so shocking because you just go in it and you're just like, I just want to get a cup of coffee, right? But when you put them side by side, it's just such a different experience. And then you learn about the agricultural side of coffee, and you're like, wow, that's a whole other thing. Roasting is a whole other thing. Coffee shop, so it's to me it's very interesting. To see that this coffee bean, this produce, there's so much behind it, so much science, so much research, so much that goes into what we drink. It's really amazing, and you can taste the differences between them. I always tell people it's like going to a bakery and getting a fresh loaf of bread. You're not gonna get that at Walmart. it's just not going to be the same, right? So it's the same thing. Freshly roasted coffee, especially good, high quality.
Well, even
freshly
when you
roasted
walk in the
coffee
shop,
is
it's a
awesome.
different smell.
Different
than
smell.
going into a normal coffee shop. I recognized it right
What's the
away.
most popular blend?
So right now, I would say it's the between the Ethiopian and the Peruvian. The Peruvian is like this. So this is an organic Peruvian coffee. Just people love it. I really love it too because it's a more of a little darker roast. So we concentrate a lot on medium roasted coffees because that's where you can taste the nuances between the coffees. When you get to a darker roast, you're kind of tasting more of the roast. But this coffee is roast dark well, so it keeps some of its characteristics, while at the same time you can get some of those darker notes that a lot of people enjoy. So this coffee has been huge in the last couple of months, the Peruvian. But it seems like it always, people change, and they always want to try something new. So we try to bring something new every couple of months. So that people can try. We want to do go ahead.
How many locally owned coffee shops do you have in Hope Mills, and how many of those are roasters?
So we're the only roasters in Cumberland County that I'm aware of. There are people that roast at home, and they'll come in, they'll get like green beans. That's a big thing that's happening. People roasting at home, but we're the only commercial coffee roasters. There's some in Aberdeen, some in the area, but in Cumberland County, we're the only roasters. Now, in the area, we have several bakeries. We have like the Sweet Palate that just opened up. Husk Hardware carries our coffee. Trying to think, Sheriff Faye carries our coffee just down here in downtown Fayetteville.
Can I add a testimonial to that? Hilltop House used Cumberland Coffee Roasters Ethiopian blend as a rub on their pork loin for the pop-up dinner in November, and they said it was the best coffee that they'd ever had. So that's from
There we
Hilltop
go.
House, Chef Corey Owen. That was
And the
pretty
pork
good.
was awesome.
And soon you'll be able to add, distributing through Sandhills Farm.
There we go.
There you go. Just saying.
And there is
We
some,
do sell online.
there is something to that because I found over the last 3 years I've tried different marketing methods. I've tried radio advertising, I've tried print advertising, and dollar for dollar, the best return that I always get is on partnering up with local businesses. Whenever they have an event going on, here's 5 pounds of coffee, use it. It's just something about, when you partner with a business and you have a mutually beneficial interest in seeing your business succeed, you spread the word of mouth, you tell people it's going to be on their website.
Well, let me just add to that, because I'm in print advertising. I think it's real important when you go after a marketing program that you get a program. And we stressed that. We did our presentation a couple of weeks ago. Facebook, word of mouth, partnering up, absolutely hands down, but it's not the end all be all. And it's really important if you go after a billboard or radio or print that you have a qualified marketing representative that's working with you and that sets out a program so that you have a beginning, a substance, and an end, so that you can measure that ROI.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the biggest downfalls today in print advertising, radio advertising, is that our clients can't measure it because you weren't working with a qualified professional that can help you to measure it.
Right.
So don't exclude those options. You need to add them to your program so that you're not using one source as your only source.
Absolutely.
Well, first thing you got to have is a marketing budget.
Exactly.
There is that.
Absolutely. And that's important.
It's crucial.
She had a question.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, me?
Yes,
I had a question about how you took your dream and turned it into getting a roaster in your garage to actually making it into what it is today, which is a huge leap. How was it like in the beginning, and how have you, I guess, evolved you in this?
It's like getting married. When you first get married, you have the butterflies in your stomach. It's all love. You have your first year. Except with business, it's like your first week. And then it's like, all right, if this is going to work, it's going to take more than just, it's going to take commitment. It's going to take a realization that you're not going to be making any money for a little while, but you're building on something. So if I would say the one biggest thing that drives me is hope. And it's not just a theoretical hope. It's built on numbers and on a solid plan and follow through and all these things. But you can see how you're building and you're working towards something. And you can say, all right, this is my 5-year plan, and this is where I'm at. And man, I see how this produced this, and if I can replicate that again, then it's going to produce this. And all of a sudden, you see that you go from your garage, and you're saying, in order to make my next step, I have to move into a location so that I can open it up to a larger audience. So you just got to think about it, but you always have to be driven by that hope that you're going, that there's something a lot bigger that you're working for than the immediate gratification of whatever idea you think you're going to make all this money in the next 6 months after opening your shop or whatever. You know, it's not.
So what did that risk involve? Like, how did that feel going from your garage to the...
Man, that was scary. It's always scary. It is never not scary. You just got to do it. You got to do it. You got to be purposeful. You got to plan. So if you have a good plan, you can live with that fear. That's fine. You just can't let that fear hold you back. So you put together a good plan. Get advice from people who have been in business for a while, who can give you some really good advice. So this is another thing. Don't listen to people who have not done it themselves. I love my mom. I love my mom. If it was up to my mom, I would not be doing this today. So surround yourself with the type of people that you want to be. People that can give you really good advice based on facts, not just on their emotions and what you think. And when you do that, it just really, they help you, progress in your business, especially when you're struggling and it's like, hey, or maybe they'll give you the best advice. Sometimes the best advice you give somebody is you need to stop and do something else. But don't ever not do it because you're afraid. If you're not going to do something in business, do it because the numbers don't match. Don't do it because you're afraid.
So right now, with you partnering with the co-op, is that going to be something that's going to come up as now, like you're going to be able to add a coffee to your?
Absolutely, we do. We currently have one of the roasters that Juan mentioned over in the 4 county area is called Java Bean Plantation. So we list their product, and this year we'll be listing Juan's product as well. We take orders in. The order cutoff is Sunday night, so we'll be able to pass that order to them on Monday. And, and
cool.
be able
So you get your produce and your coffee, or if you got the bread, so you get your bread, your coffee,
cheese,
your
meat, you name it.
And if you sign up at the Hope Mills site and you forget to place your coffee order, when you go pick up your box, just
Exactly.
buy a bag.
And that's a new little feature that we're having because and Juan and I, this is actually the first time we've met. And he's been talking with a couple other folks on my team, but we want. I mentioned that micro market concept, and I think you can hear Juan's passion, not only about coffee, which is awesome, but about his community and about understanding where the product comes from. Really, a lot of the same values that Farm to Table, embodies. So there's a synergy there that we like. It makes sense, but. We know that it has to be something, he could sell produce, or, there has to be a reason he wants to distribute our box. It's disruptive to business and everything else. It can also bring people in, but we think telling that story is important. But also this year, we're able to apply technology that we can list products just for people at his site. So if he wants to have just a Roastmasters selection every week, and people just buy that, and he'll know on Monday to have it prepared for them when they come in on Wednesday to pick their box up, and those types of things. So, and you can opt out of it. You can do to it. So we're trying to figure out innovative ways. I think you asked the question before, do we have a storefront? We looked at retail and we said, we want to use all of their storefronts and help them be successful in their retail locations. They don't want to handle produce. There are a lot of reasons they don't want to handle produce. But you know what? For example, we do the same with a commercial location called Southern Way, which is a small cheese shop over in Southern Pines, North Carolina. At their peak a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, at their current peak, they're going to have a new peak soon, I hope. They were doing every Thursday, 70 people would come to pick boxes up.
Wow.
Small business, that kind of foot traffic every Thursday, that's a big deal. And you can say that we typically target Wednesdays and Thursdays, which are low traffic days for most of these small businesses. So, one won't be there right off out of the gate, but and it's building that community. People know he's at Buggytown Coffee's the same thing over in Carthage. They're just getting up off on their feet. Last year, it was a different owner, but they were doing 20 to 25 people every Thursday. They would walk in, she said, it's amazing. They walk in, she just says the usual, she makes it while they see what's in their box, they get ready, they repack their stuff into their bags, their coffee's ready for them, they walk out with it. And so it's this synergistic linking of goodness. I don't know what else to say.
I like your comparison of starting a new business with a marriage. So following up on that thought, I want to reiterate what Don said, because like a marriage, failure can be very expensive.
Yes.
Okay? And you would be surprised on how many business plans, okay, that we look at and people bring to us that don't even have marketing even in the budget. I mean, they don't even have it.
That's correct.
They don't even have it there. Okay, and we listened to a very good presentation a couple weeks ago. A young lady starting a business did know whether she was a proprietorship or LLC, which tells you what? It tells you there was a big step in between the process that was missing. So what you're saying is very, very true, and there are a lot of those gotchas out there. And the other thing that you said that really makes a lot of sense is do not listen to your friends. Number one, they're going to tell you what you want to hear, when you really should be looking at the facts and the objectiveness of the business and going about it, the correct way. Now we're going to be lucky enough next week to do 1 million cups, and we're actually going to be talking about businesses and the difference between businesses and franchises and things like that. So, but congratulations,
Thank you.
Juan.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job.
Good
I think
comment
that's
too.
great.
Thank you.